mission at Confronting Domestic Violence, CDV, is to provide real-time resources to real-time victims and offer relocation services when parents have a safe place to go and not the means to get there. Every day, countless families wake up in fear, navigating a battleground in their own home, trapped in a cycle of violence. It is a known fact the most dangerous time for a victim is when the abuser knows they're leaving right up to the point of leaving. One of the biggest challenges a parent faces is fear and finances. So while we aim to help numerous families each month by fostering multi-agency collaborations, we're humbly asking you for your support too. Every little bit helps to make our mission a reality for families ready to leave their toxic, abusive environment. No parent should have to leave everything behind or resort to homelessness when leaving for safety. Your contribution can make a world of difference in offering a family to feel safe at home once again. Hello, beautiful listeners. A. Garcia here, founder and executive director of Confronting Domestic Violence. What we talk about here is not intended to trigger you. Instead, it is our intention to bring awareness, empowerment, tools, testimony, light, and hope for those that may be going through a form of domestic violence and for those that have completely separated themselves from a previous toxic, abusive relationship. We come together to share lessons learned and how to level up your coping skills as the inevitable domino effect takes place in our lives. So let's talk about it. Today, I have a beautiful guest by the name of Saundra that is willing to open up, share her story, share her journey, and give us all a bit of hope and light. Saundra, please take the stage.
Hi. Hi. Hope everybody is well. The story starts at age 28. It was my birthday, and my ex-husband and I were out celebrating. Then somehow we separated. He was in one bar and I was in another. And I had gone outside and then went to go see him. And when I went into the bar, he had his arm around another woman. So I just felt like I don't want to deal with this. And so I left, but he followed me. And what I can remember of it, he was yelling and screaming at me. And he's 6'2", so he's a pretty big guy. And I guess he must have hit me at least 4 times and then knocked me out. And so when I felt, I woke up unconscious on the side of the street, and he was gone. And I was just so surprised that somebody that I married and had a child with would or could just leave me. Who knew if I was alive or dead? That I got up and I went back inside the car, and I guess the guys were already coming in because they were like, "Oh my gosh, 2 black guys and big swollen face." And I went home, and the next morning he looks at me and says, "What happened?" I'm like, "Really? You know what happened?" And then he says, "I'm so sorry." And I went to lie down, and my face was hurting and swelling. And within 3 or 4 hours, it swelled so much. I went to the emergency, and that doctor gave me some antibiotics, Tylenol, and said, "You're fine." And so I went home, and my face was still swelling up. And that it swelled up so much that it blocked my nose, so I couldn't breathe. So I had to go in an ambulance and go to the hospital. And I guess I was unconscious by then. And I could hear the doctor saying she probably only has 3 days to live. And my mother and my sister were there, and they were pretty upset. And they said, "That's not acceptable. You need to do something." And he said, "There's really nothing I can do." And I think it was because I had Medi-Cal that he didn't want to, it wasn't worth his time. But eventually, within that same day, my sister had said, "You know what? We're going to move you to a hospital that's going to help you, not just watch you die." So they sent me over to a couple of hospitals that would not accept me. And finally went to the county hospital, and they took me in, and the first thing they did was start cutting my face, the right side of my face, because all that was left is my bottom lip, my nose, and underneath my right eye, all of that skin was gone. And they said the infection was either going to hit me in the brain or in my heart because it was spreading so quickly. And so because of that, they just kept cutting and cutting, and I looked like half a face. And I couldn't talk, I couldn't eat. And I was probably in the hospital for 4 or 5 months. And I had no idea how bad it was. There was a time when my two kids, my daughter was probably 8 or 9, and my son was probably 3 years old. And he could hear my voice, but he couldn't see me. So he didn't know who I was. So he wouldn't come to me. And because he was scared, he would just hide. And so that happened for a while because he didn't know who I was, because obviously my face changed. That with that, they had done probably 4 or 5 surgeries, and they had cut a big chunk of my back to reconstruct my face. And they had taken skin grafts in my legs, and they have with my stomach, they've put an expander in my stomach to stretch it out so they could use that skin. So I probably have had over 29 surgeries or so. I just lost count. That with all of that happening, it took me a while to accept that this was going to be my fate. And says when he did come by and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for doing that." And then the next week is, "I didn't do that," because then he realizes if he says he did this, he would go to jail. And I had called the police when I got out of the hospital. I was living with my mom, and at that time, they just didn't want to get involved. And this was before Nicole Brown, the domestic violence that she had to endure. And so they just didn't want to, they didn't see my face. So they just didn't want to get involved. And I realize now, my first boyfriend, when I was 16, I was with him probably for 3 or 4 years, if not longer. He was the first person that ever hit me. And I accepted that. That was okay. And I don't know why I accepted it. Maybe because when my sister and her husband were raising me, they would fight. And I think at one time he slapped her and we left, but then we went back. And so I think maybe somehow in my subconscious, it was already in there that it's okay. That's not like the worst thing anybody could do. That I realize now that was just a pattern that I was going through. He had socked me in the stomach when I was 7 months pregnant. Yeah, he had kicked me with steel-toed boots. He had punched me in the head, all kinds of stuff like that. And we were doing drugs, so that I just figured that's normal. And when I was finally able to get away from him, I met my ex-husband. And the first time he assaulted me, I was at my friend's, and he was upset that I didn't come straight home. And we were outside waiting to cross the street, and he bit me on the nose, bit me. And I was just so shocked because who bites somebody, right? But I forgave him for that. And I forgave him when he hit me another time when I was at our friends and he was out. And I guess he and my friend met, and they went out together. And I didn't know, and I didn't suspect anything, that when he came to pick me up, he was angry with me, and he had hit me several times. And the things that he would do after he's hit me or something, if he wanted to show me how daddy felt, he would hit himself with a frying pan. He ate a light bulb, things like that, which messes with my head because I'm thinking, wow, he's really sorry. He's really sorry for doing this, because who else would do something like that? And so in my head, was, wow, he is apologetic. He's only done it once or twice, so it's not so bad. But then one time he hit me so much, he socked me and I went over the couch. And the next day I was black and blue, and I actually had picked up the phone to call for help. That I had 2 kids and no money, no car, and I didn't know what to do. And unfortunately, when you don't have any choices, this is what I did. Just accept that this was going to be my life. And that was through our marriage. We were married for 5 years. We were together for 7. He's hit me maybe 5 times. And I thought, that's not a lot, right? So my little brain went, it's not that bad. And it took this for me to finally say, that's enough. For me to lose half my face made it where I just couldn't take him back again, because he did try to come back, and I told him I can't. And that I know that it affected my daughter. She was just always frightened with loud voices, screaming, and all that stuff going on. That she was very brave. My daughter was probably, she met him probably when she was 4 or 5, so she knew him as her dad. But that's he wasn't her dad. My first boyfriend was. And this cycle kept going until the last. I knew this guy from before this happened, and he had hit on me before, and it was like, I will never be with you. But because he still saw me with my regular face, I took him in, and he never hit me, which was very odd. I thought it was very strange, and we were getting high together, and I had a son. And after that, I had lost my kids for not being at home and not supplying the necessities that they needed. My daughter was 12, so I thought she could take care of the kids, which I shouldn't have done, of course. But I was in my addiction, and I had my kids taken away from me. And within 9 months, I had them back, except for one. And my oldest daughter, she just said, I don't want to live in a women's home. I'm happy with my foster family. I'm going to high school and I enjoy it. So, how could I say, come live in one room with all of your siblings? But I was in the home for probably 6.5 years, 7 years almost. And because with addiction, it doesn't go away in 6 months. I don't think so. The pastor there, he got saved on TV and decided never again. And he did that. That for me, it would not have worked. I got pregnant again, and I had my little girl, and those two have never seen me with anybody. And I had my eyes open because I wasn't doing any drugs or drinking or doing anything else. And I was able to get myself together. I met a couple of organizations. One right now called Face Forward International has given me back a lot of confidence. They have helped me with my opening up my face. I couldn't eat unless I use the finger to shove it in my mouth. And now I can at least open it up and put bites in like a normal person. But it's been a long journey, because for probably 8 months, I had a tube in my stomach, and I poured nutritional drinks through it, and this huge syringe, and I pushed it in, and I had a throat thing. Yeah, yes, I had a track, and that I had for 10 years. And one of the doctors were finally able to close it, because I had to be very careful if I'm taking a shower. I couldn't swim because I'm going to drown myself. So those are little things that people might not think about, but those are things that were very important. And as I got used to it, for 10 years, I wore a mask and sunglasses to hide my face. And because I couldn't even face me looking the way I did. And I was able to find a great church that supported me, and friends that really helped me go back to school, and helped me go back to work. And then I'm just so blessed. I have a Habitat for Humanity house that I worked for 3 years to help build. I am not a good person with a hammer or anything else. So they had me squeaking mostly, which is probably the best thing for me. That I mean, this is a huge blessing. The only thing is I have no style or decorative. I don't decorate. I don't know how to do any of that. And even hanging up curtains has been really hard, because I don't know how to do that. I had somebody come over and help me before. I've been here probably about 14 years. And when we moved in, my youngest daughter, she was probably 10 years old. She has never had her own room. And when we moved into this house, she got her first room by herself. And my son too. My oldest son had moved on, but this is an experience that was horrific, yet it was turned around to be a huge blessing for me, because I realized that it wasn't about the way I look. It was about what was in my heart and my head. And I am willing to tell my story. I don't like to talk in public, but I will do whatever it's going to take. If it helps one person, isn't it worth it? I believe it is. And so I tell my story. I'm on the internet. I've told my story to churches, and I hope that it will get through to some people or someone that doesn't know what to do, that they can understand there is help. It's not like when I was a young girl, I was 24, 25, and there was no place for me to go, no place for me to get help. I would hope and I would suggest that anyone that is going through this, I don't believe it will ever get better. If they're in this situation, it doesn't get better. And mine has been an intense assault that it's my face had got an infection, and it's like 1 in a million chance that something like this could happen to someone. And of course it happened to me. That because the USC hospital, they've never seen anybody so bad as I was when I first got there. And I always encourage, like I used to hide with my mask. Now I have it off. And I say, I have these scars because what I went through. But the thing is, I did go through it. And going through it, I was able to open a new door and become a better person, become a better mom, become stronger than I thought I could ever be. I never thought I could go through this. At the beginning, I thought, I can't go through this. I'm not going to survive. I can't do this. And going through it, I've been blessed with so many people that I've been able to meet that are wonderful. They scored international, the executive director there, the founder, they do this and they go above and beyond. And I've always been so grateful for people that I don't even know that have helped me get through this. And I'm at this point in my life, I'm really happy. I have grandkids, and it was a couple of years ago, my granddaughter was taken from my daughter by her ex-husband. We've been in a custody battle for 2 years. So
Saundra, I wanted to ask, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I wanted to ask if we could pause for a minute because you shared so much information, and I feel like that's number one, a lot to take in. And I first want to acknowledge how beautiful you are, outside and inside. And it's so important that you know that, and hearing that and knowing that you got to this place through the journey that you just shared, to know that, to believe that, to present yourself in that, to walk in that, to wear that. That in itself is just extremely awarding. It is extremely motivating. It's very influencing. It's hope. It's light. And I just really want to take that moment to acknowledge you for that first and foremost. Okay.
thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
And I wanted to ask permission if I can ask you some questions based on that journey that you shared up until we got to your grandchildren. Can I ask you some things?
Sure.
Thank you. Would you mind sharing maybe like an age range that you are at the moment?
I just turned 61.
Wow.
I
Okay.
know.
Wow. Time flies. Okay. So is it fair to say, based on what you were saying, that as a little girl, you were raised in a home where you were around abuse?
Yes, I believe it was. It was mostly screaming matches when my sister wanting to put me in between, go call the police. And then her husband would do, it's okay, go to your room, it's going to be okay. And with that, he was also very manipulative. He would mess with my mind, trying to take advantage of me and touch me in places that he shouldn't have. And I
This
did. Excuse me?
Your sister's husband?
Yes.
Okay.
And unfortunately, he's in the army, and so we lived in all different places. And Africa was the last place that we lived together. And my sister kept trying to get back with him. And when I told her when I was 12, she didn't believe me. She felt bad that she had to go through this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say that based on that experience, and again, I'm sorry that you went through that, a lot of young ladies, young girls, young women that move around a lot and are exposed that type of environment, that's a common, unfortunately, a common behavior. Would you say that when you became teenager and you were involved in that teenage relationship and that became a teen dating violence situation, is that because you felt that it was normal? Is that what you were saying before, that it was just something that was normal to you because of your life experience from that point?
It could have been part of that, but it was also, I felt like nobody had ever loved me. And the more he pushed me away, because he was like, you don't want to be with a guy like me. And I didn't understand what he was talking about. And the more he would push me away, the more I want to get with him. So I guess it has partly to do with that. And the other part is I wanted someone to love me.
Yes, okay, because your parents at that point, you were with your sister and your sister's husband who was
Right.
inappropriate with you, and your
Yes.
parents at that point, where were they?
My father had died when I was 4, and my mother was in Korea, and my sister adopted me when I was 6.
Wow, okay. Wow, okay. So you've had it rough since you were brought into the world, basically. You had no choice but to, yeah, figure stuff out, almost like you had your childhood stripped away and you had to become responsible and aware at such a young age, which I totally relate with, by the way. Okay, so you were looking for acceptance, you're looking for somebody to love you for who you are. Was this person a lot older than you?
No, maybe a couple of years older.
Okay, so even as a teenager, he knew that he was not a good person and he was telling you, but like most of us, somebody pushes us away, we're gonna go after. Okay,
Right.
I get it.
You
So,
always want what you can't have.
so then you said that, so this is the man that you had your first child with then, the one that
Yes.
kicked you in the stomach when you were 7 months pregnant. Okay, and how long were you with him?
Uh, Probably 5 years. Five
Okay,
years.
5 years. Okay, and you only have one child with him?
Yes.
Okay, and how many kids do you have altogether?
4.
Okay, so you were able to leave him. What gave you the strength to leave your first love?
I stopped loving him. He treated me so badly that going over the years, I just felt like I couldn't stand him. If a truck had hit him, I would have just walked over him. I was at that point, and I had told him, I I don't care what happens to you, honestly. And it took that long for me to finally say no more with him.
So, with what you know today, going back to your teenage self dealing with this guy, what is your wisdom to other young ladies? What are some of the signals, the signs, the feelings, the visuals, the emotions that you would tell people to recognize as a red flag and take a moment?
For me, like I said, he would always try to say, you don't want to be with me, things like that. And he would tell me why. He left home when he was young. His stepdad threw him out of the house. He was living in Florida in the beach. And then he came here and he was just a young guy that I think that he was probably taken advantage of or willingly doing whatever it took to survive. I know that he used to say all kinds of nasty things to me. And at one point, we had gone into this deserted hotel. And after we had sex, he said, I'll be right back. And he never came back. And you would think that would tell me that he doesn't care.
Okay, so It's so I heard a lot about what he said, what he did, what
Mhm.
happened with his
Right.
behavior. Let me rephrase my question to you a little bit differently then. So, what did you learn from that situation that if you had your granddaughter at your age in front of you telling you a similar story about her meeting this guy that was telling her, you don't want to be with me because of my upbringing, what would you tell her?
I would say, you know what? That is a sign. And that is something that you have to be careful with. I think part of why I stayed with him so long is because I started using drugs at 16.
Okay, was
And
he a part of, did he influence you to be a drug user?
he did drugs, but he wasn't the one that he actually was the one that was saying, you don't want to do this. You're not that kind of girl. But then when you go around that circle, and I had a friend that was in that circle, she was a few years older than I was, and I guess she had done it before, and I had never done anything. And I started with hard drugs. So it just escalated and escalated. And when you're a teenager, your thinking isn't always clear, and then put drugs in it and trying to find someone to love, that's all crazy.
That's
That
right.
I would tell my granddaughter that she has a place to stay. She has someone that's going to be with her, that will help her do whatever is necessary to not go back with the person that's done anything, or she feels like something's going to happen. All my kids know what's happened to my face, and it wasn't easy for them. I had to drop them off at school. Little kids point and laugh, and I'm sure that some of them had a difficult time. But none of my kids have ever said, "Oh, I'm embarrassed that you're my mom."
What a beautiful statement that is, because that just goes to show that your strength, regardless of your challenges, your children were able to see how you climbed out of the worst case scenario that somebody could possibly go through that is imaginable. Okay. And that is, I see that in you. I see this story from you. I feel it. And I wanna bring a bigger picture of, like you said earlier, you're here sharing your story and telling the world what happened to you so that it can potentially prevent somebody else from going through this. And I think it's really important that we visited your childhood and your teenage years, because that is really where a lot of our adulthood is projected from, right? Our childhood and our teenage years. So when you're in an environment as a child where fighting and abuse, yelling, physical, whatever it may be, you're already exposed. So we're already receiving a form of this like generational trauma is what it's called, right? And
Right,
then like you're saying, when there's this battlefield at home where home is supposed to be your safe haven, as teenager where your frontal lobe separates, you're back into this like hormonal confusion state, and you're seeking love, acceptance, bond, connection,
right,
very normal here. This is textbook. And then if you're resorting to drugs also to escape and cope and figure out life, and think that you are taking yourself to another level instead of confronting your situation, this is the domino effect. This is also normal when this is a part of your upbringing. And
right,
so if we can stop it in our teenage, younger adult years,
right.
because as adolescents, we don't have the capacity to really understand. We're just a product of our environment. As teenager, we start learning what we feel is right and wrong, what we're deciphering in our own brain, what's right and wrong. We are more into our intuition, into our gut feelings, into our instincts, things of that nature. So
right.
the perfect storm that you just explained is a lot of perfect storms that these young ladies and young boys are going into, which is seeking that acceptance, looking for that connection, feeling that love, and then it's snowballing into this negative, abusive situation.
Right.
And so I want to say to those that, hey, if you're feeling more sad than you are happy, you're not in the right relationship. Okay. If you're doubting yourself, if you're questioning who you are, if you're no longer enjoying what you are doing outside of that door that you call home, or in the world, at school, at work, in the street, whatever you're doing, you need to check that relationship. That is not love. That is not the what you're looking for. It could be trauma bonding, okay? Something to that nature. Look those things up. Now, let's move into that place in your life where this happened with your husband. So, what was his profession?
He would take odd jobs here and there. Well, he was an ex-Marine. That was before I met him. And I think he got discharged. I think it
Honor
was, no,
Dishonorably discharged?
yes.
Okay.
Because he's got a temper, that's for sure.
Was there any cheating or mistrust going on in the relationship before you stepped outside to see him with this other woman?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And there was, you said 4 or 5 times that he had laid his hands on you already also. So were you guys party animals too?
No, not really. We would stay at home and do whatever it is we do.
And no, I
That,
didn't mean any disrespect when I say party
no,
animals. What I
no.
meant, were you guys drug users or into alcohol abuse or anything of that nature together as a
Yes, we were.
couple?
Yes, we were drug addicts.
Okay. And you had how many children with him?
One.
Okay. So one child with him, and you guys were both drug users.
But
Okay.
my ex-husband was, I know this sounds crazy, was more normal than my first boyfriend.
I get
Um,
it. I get it. Yep. Yep. I get it. When one is better than the other, then this one doesn't seem so bad as the last. I understand. I get it. I understand. Okay. So how long was that marriage?
probably 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so very short-lived.
Yeah.
So what gave you the strength to leave him was the altercation outside when he did this to you.
And I didn't have the choice. I was hospitalized.
Okay,
He decided to take off.
got it. And is the reason why you did not press charges or go after him, was that out of fear?
No, it was just, I said, I didn't even want to go outside. And this first happened. And even coming back home, that's why I called the police. But they couldn't see my face, of course. And that was like the last thing for me to think about, or that was just too much of a challenge with the medical
Yeah,
issues that I had.
I get it. So why, when you went to the hospitals nearby, did anybody want to get involved or ask questions about what was going on? Do you have an
Yes.
idea?
Yes, I was told that he told everyone that I had gone to the store and got mugged.
Okay, and nobody asked you if you had a different story?
I couldn't talk.
Oh, you couldn't speak.
I
Okay,
couldn't
got
talk. Yeah.
it. Okay, no, I get it. Okay. And I can understand how not wanting to have to relive the situation for an additional 2 years to go after him in court. I totally get it. So, who had custody of your children while you were in the hospital?
First, he had them. And then once they realized that he's the one that did this to me, my face, they took them away and were given to my mother, the two children. First, my sister tried to take care of them, but my daughter didn't want to live in her house. So my mother, she decided to take both of them and take care of my daughter and my son. My
Beautiful,
real
beautiful,
mother.
beautiful. So you had a support system that loves you and your children unconditionally, and that was
I don't know about that. I mean, when I left Korea, my sister told me that I could not speak Korean anymore. So I don't know how to speak Korean. And my mother, my real mother, she didn't speak any English. So it was pretty difficult. I don't think we ever really talked. And
okay.
that was part of the problem. If I had gotten some support, I think it would have been helpful, but I didn't. And I realize now with all the therapy and counseling that I've been able to have since then, has been one of the biggest reasons why I'm as strong as I am.
That's right. And you know what? Thank you for pointing that out because I do believe in therapy as much as I resisted as a younger person. When you get older, you get wiser. And yes, there are so many things that we have to cope with, from trauma, from enduring pain, from enduring feeling ashamed that we were not smarter or that we did not know better or that there was uncontrollable circumstances that we were left in that we fell victim to without even realizing at such a young age, that shaped our future that we had no control over whatsoever. When you're able to get through those acceptances and forgivenesses, I believe that is when you get to experience that journey of post-traumatic growth, which is something that you are a true definition of. We are taught what PTSD is, and it's drilled into our brains. And not a lot of people share, educate, or talk or teach about PTG. And that's that post-traumatic growth. It's where you become a wiser, stronger individual from the trauma and the pain you've endured, the devastation of life that came your way, and how you're healing, how you're coping, and how you're facing it, and what you're doing with that wisdom and that strength. And you have come through leaps and bounds. And we only got through a portion of the whole story that you shared. It's so amazing to know that the strength that you have coming out and through this entire journey that you've been through over the past 55 years. This all started when you were 4 and your father passed away. Again, uncontrollable circumstances that shaped your future. And to see where you are today, and that is what is so inspiring and what brings the hope to so many others, is to see that there are things that you can learn from your elders. And that's why the elderly are so important to have in our lives, because the wisdom that is shared, the experiences that have been gone through, they can be what prevents our generation and future generations from having to go through, endure, and experience anything that we have gone through, especially when they're seeing it and hearing it. Back in the day, we couldn't even talk about it, and here you are, openly sharing. And that's what makes such a huge difference. And the statistics, unfortunately, haven't changed since COVID. COVID moved the needle forward a little bit with how many people get abused. But you did not give up. You did not give up on you. You did not give up on your children. It took for what this man did to you to get cleaned up, to have your eyes open, like you said earlier, your ears open, like you said earlier, to see life in a different light, to have a different outlook, to have a better understanding. You built a community, you built a foundation, you built a spiritual realm around you. You basically you rebirthed yourself and raised yourself from scratch, but as an adult. And now here you are, shining in a beautiful home. Your children, for the first time, maybe not your first set, but your second set, is able to have their own room, to have a yard to play in, a place to call home. Now, even though your daughter is struggling and there's some challenges that she's faced with, you've been there, you've done that. You're now supporting her, you're helping her. She's going to get her baby back. And her future is going to change because of the future that you have shown her through your own life, that you have changed.
Thank you.
And that's so important.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you came on this platform, that you were open to share your story. And I hope that what I'm sharing in return from you, based on so many of these podcasts that I have done, I really just want you to know how beautiful you are, how inspirational you are, and the difference that you're making for your bloodline, for your family, for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren to come. Your story is leaving a footprint.
No, I'm hoping it will, positively.
It is. It is. And I would love to connect with you beyond this show and talk about maybe how these two nonprofits, mine, Confronting Domestic Violence, and the one that you were referring to, that's helping victims reconstruct their body after incidents like this happen that are so extreme. That's a beautiful thing, to give people a second chance at life, to feel good about who they are and what they look like despite what somebody else did or took away from
Right.
them. Look at you. Your skin is glowing. You're beautiful.
You're so funny. Thank
I'm
you.
so serious.
You're
You
so
are
sweet.
glowing, woman. When you look in that mirror every day, listen, there's a thing called mirror work. And if you add that to your routine and to the therapy that you have already done and are still going through, mirror work, mirror neurons is real. You look in that mirror, you tell yourself that you love yourself, that you're beautiful, that you got this, that you are making a difference. You talk to yourself like you are a cheerleader, encouraging and cheering on the person that you love the most.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. If you would like to share with our listeners where you can be found, maybe if you need any support or help from any organization, any person, where can they find you? How can we support you?
You can always find me through the Face Forward International. My story is there, I believe. If not, I've done a couple of stories, the internet. I don't know where it's called, Unfiltered Beauty. And I've done some storytelling with them and a couple of other organizations where they've recorded me. And so I hope that seeing me, that it will bring someone to feel like if she can do it, I can do it too.
That's right. That's
So,
right. What state are you in?
California.
Okay. All right. For any listeners that's in California, organizations, independent people, whoever you are that you would like to help support Saundra in any way, shape, or form, please find her. And I'll put that link in this recording. No problem. And thank you so much, Saundra. If there's a wounds to wisdom statement that you would like to leave our listeners with, and if you can think of one, please share what that
Don't
would be.
give up. Don't give up. Don't give up.
That's
You
right.
can do things that you couldn't even imagine. I would not have thought I could have gone through this. Nobody asked me, would you like to do this? But once you are in it, you have choices, and one is to get better, or one is to sink. And
That's
that's
sink or swim, huh?
pretty much.
And look, you not only did you swim, you're out of the water.
So funny.
Completely out of the water. Okay, and that, my dear, is the conquering of all. You made it all the way out and you're making a difference. So I just wanna thank you for being here, and everybody, thank you for listening today. If you were triggered, I apologize. If you realize that there's areas that you still want to work on within, or areas in your life where the past is holding you hostage, you're not alone. And there's programs available to help you. We can level up your coping skills and help you go through the journey of experiencing post-traumatic growth.
Yep.
Here you have it,
Yep.
live and proof in the pudding. Thank you, Saundra, so much for being here
No
today.
problem. Thank you for having me. You take care.
Thank you. You too. And on October 27th in Del Mar, San Diego, we're having our first fundraising event for Confronting Domestic Violence. So if you can make it, or if you would like to be a guest speaker, or if you want to help promote our gala on your social media, I'll send you the information as well. And all the listeners, same to you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Our mission at Confronting Domestic Violence, CDV, is to provide real-time resources to real-time victims and offer relocation services when parents have a safe place to go and not the means to get there. Every day, countless families wake up in fear, navigating a battleground in their own home, trapped in a cycle of violence. It is a known fact the most dangerous time for a victim is when the abuser knows they're leaving right up to the point of leaving. One of the biggest challenges a parent faces is fear and finances. So while we aim to help numerous families each month by fostering multi-agency collaborations, we're humbly asking you for your support too. Every little bit helps to make our mission a reality for families ready to leave their toxic, abusive environment. No parent should have to leave everything behind or resort to homelessness when leaving for safety. Your contribution can make a world of difference in offering a family to feel safe at home once again.